Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Tay Experience. Today's episode is going to be about school, culture, and being yourself, like at school. And my name is Marcelino. I go to SR, and I'm an intern at Tay. I'm a podcast intern, and I'm just going to have everyone go around introduce themselves a little bit. And I also want you to tell me your favorite class this year.
Okay. My name is Kayla. I go to Dominican University of California. I'm also part of the TAY podcast internship. And my favorite class this year right now is my graphics arts like designing class. I really like learning how to use like Adobe like Photoshop and like editing and stuff like that. It's really cool.
My name is Galle, and I'm also an intern at TAY. And I go to Redwood High School, and my favorite class I'd say would be A-Push, which is AP U.S. History, because I like learning about the past of America, both the good things and the bad things that they've done are, just really interesting. And like how you can see like historical occurrences repeat over the years.
Yeah. I guess since I didn't say mine would probably be English just because it's super chill. And I like the teacher. So, yeah, to start, I want to ask you guys, what do you think makes a good teacher?
I think what makes a good teacher is that basically what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So like I think what makes a good teacher is somebody who's like consistent, like a teacher that like doesn't pick students over other students or like gives like other students upper hands. Like is definitely somebody who's fair. And I know that sometimes that can be perceived as a bad thing because like I know some teachers that are like, if one student does this, everybody has to do it, like a quiz. If one student has a quiz, everybody has a quiz. So like I feel like being fair is like 50-50. Like it depends on who your professor is actually. But I think a teacher who wants to get along with their student is like the most valuable teacher and also the most memorable teacher also. Like you remember them like even years after you graduate.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I agree as well. And also, I think what makes a teacher really good is a teacher having like a modern teaching style rather than like a old fashioned, like from the past teaching style. So, like, for example, my history teacher, although she could just follow the AP like curriculum and like show us, like tell us every event that happened, like she really likes to have us make connections and talk amongst ourselves. And she's really like down to earth. She's not very like, oh, I'm the teacher and you guys are the students and you guys are below me. So I feel like that teaching style kind of really helps us learn better, and it makes a more fun like classroom environment.
Yeah. I get what you mean. I think for me, probably just a teacher who wants you to succeed. Because I know a few teachers who just like, I don't know, they don't really care about how you do in their class, but some teachers, like what in my opinion, the better teachers, they want you to succeed, so that makes their class better because you just like they actually push you to be your best self and do your work in a way that helps you and not just for the grade. All right. um, for the next question, I want to ask you guys, how do school rules affect learning from your experience, if they do at all? So, like, how would certain rules affect how you learn or how you get your education, I guess? A rule you could think about is like phones, Gaul, since we're
Oh,
both
yeah.
in high school, but they probably don't do that at Dominican, but
They do. Like there are some classes where they like do forbid like having the phone like in the class. And it's a really bad habit for me to be on my phone. I get that, but like I'm also like at a certain age where I kind of need my phone on me and it's like kind of everything on it. So it's not like I can just like put it away and like not expect somebody to like email me or text me or expecting a phone call. It's not like I cannot have my phone for like 3 hours. I don't know. I think that's crazy. For me at least, I don't know. I'm not a phone like addicted. I just need it at certain times, especially like during the day. So, but yeah, I think some rules can really like affect like the schooling, and it's sometimes it's really unnecessary too. Like it's mostly about students who can't like focus in class, and so they like do it by getting rid of things that do distract them, but at the same time it's like causing them to have more distractions or like not even want to go to the class at all. So I feel like it
Yeah.
can be a factor. Yeah.
Do they track attendance at your college?
They do.
Oh.
I remember one professor literally put everybody's like names down on a post-it note, and he kept it the entire semester just to jot down anybody who was just late to the class. And that used to like make everybody drop the class really fast. So it's just like, you know, things like that make them feel like, okay, this is way too strict. This doesn't feel like a really freeing, like welcoming environment for me. So yeah, that's why.
Did you say you have a 3-hour class?
Yeah, I've had like 4 3-hour classes since I've been in high school.
That's crazy.
I know. They're really long, guys, so expect that. And I think the worst part about like that, like no having phone rule, is that most of the time it's like a paper and pencil like classroom. So students don't really carry paper or pencil. They have laptops. I don't know if you guys use laptops in class. So yeah. So there'd be a lot of incidents in that class too where nobody would have a pencil or pen, and everybody would be asking around, and the professor had none. Some students would have to like walk to the library, which is like literally like a 7-minute walk. And it's like, I don't know. It's just not very convenient. Those classes are not very convenient to like the new generation kids. So,
Yeah, and it probably makes them, like you said, super unwelcoming, and like, so it just feels like, I feel like that sets the mood to where you don't even want to go to the class or like participate. What about you, Galle? You have anything to add?
Just on the rules in general, I feel like we as students want to be in an environment where like the administration and like the school is working with us rather than us trying to resist and use as much phone use, because I feel like there can be like a middle ground where we're happy. So for example, I think that like the phone rules in high school where they have you put it in a phone jail and all that is super like in a way harmful because it makes us upset at the school and it makes us feel like we're unable to like learn and be responsible on our own. So I feel like the schools need to do better in like being more forgiving and loose with their rules in their phones, and also their phones and all other sorts of things they do, like for that's basically it.
So you think like the stricter the rules, like it causes tension between the school and the students?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that I feel like you need a school that has loose rules, that they show trust in the students and the students will show respect back. I feel like it's like a two-way street.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, if a student is on their phone and doesn't want to pay attention, that's kind of like their fault. But if they, can't control themselves, I could see how the rules would help. But I think most of the time, it's probably better to let the students decide for themselves.
If the student doesn't want to learn, it's like on them. If they go into a high school class and they decide not to listen, they can choose to do that. I think it's up to them and up to the school to teach them that learning whatever subject it is actually important and beneficial. That will be the key factor in actually having more engaged students, is them understanding it themselves and not trying to like force it or inflict, education on people if they don't want to, or if they're trying to resist, and it's like a battle in a way.
Yeah, I think that especially kind of applies to college because like you're paying to go there. So for them to like want to, I don't know, take away your phone or like
or not let me use it at all.
Yeah, like, just like stuff like that.
I don't know. It was just a weird concept for me. Like it's like college is supposed to be somewhere I can discover myself, and it's just like classes like that are strict for no reason. Like there's no way that I'm not like in the actual work field environment that I'm gonna be in after college. There's just no way they're gonna forbid me to use my phone for 3 hours. Like that's just not my future. And so like classes like that, it's just very restricting. I don't do really well with that. But I know that like students that are very like driven, I feel like, or usually in the class for like certain reasons, they can handle it. I don't know about those classes. They just feel very like closed, and it doesn't sit right with me, honestly. So
Yeah. All right. Next question I want to ask you guys is, besides the academic and like creative aspects, what is the biggest difference between academic classes and creative classes for you guys? So like not just the fact that, oh, like in art I do art, in math I do math, but like what's the biggest difference that you guys feel in those classes?
I can speak on this personally, and it's something that I've noticed recently. And I don't think either way is the better way, but in these like humanities and arts classes, there is like no right answer, and the teacher has to grade you on whatever answer you choose from the any combination of words you can put, or any combination of strokes or whatever. In, for example, math and biology and those kind of very what was the word you saying, creative versus
Academic?
academic. In the academic classes, there's only like a right answer, and either you get it or you don't. So I feel like there's just like a one versus like an infinity kind of like answers.
Yeah.
And obviously you can get something wrong in history where you say, oh, this happened in this date, not this date. But I feel like there is still a lot more possibilities and routes you can go when you're doing, for example, for us, we have a DBQ, which is where you like use documents and formulate your own historical argument. So you can go your own way. You can argue whatever you want to argue. So that's like the biggest difference I've noticed.
Yeah. Just for the people watching, what's a DBQ?
So there's a DBQ is where you get 7 documents, and you have 1 hour to use, I think, 4 or 6 of those documents, I forget, to formulate an argument responding to a prompt. So, for example, evaluate the extent to which the Cold War spiked communist, anti-communist, anti-communist vibes in America.
Yeah.
Something like that. So you'd have to use your documents, and some would be kind of pro and some would be against, and you group them. And so you basically use pieces of history to like see where that argument can go and what you would say.
Yeah.
So you can really go either way. And there's also a bunch of other writing things. It's not just that. There's also an SAQ and an LEQ, and those are just more writing things where you respond creatively on any sort of question they ask you.
Yeah.
So it's like an example of like a creative, something I find creative.
I was gonna say like the same thing. Like for me, when I took science, it definitely did feel like one of those classes where you had to work really, really hard just to find like one answer. And when I would take classes like anthropology or like classes that involve like a lot of critical thinking, it was like there was like no wrong answer. Everybody pretty much had like progressive like thoughts and decisions on things. So it was open-minded, and yeah, it didn't really feel like I had to give one answer. I feel like I could give out what I was thinking and like put it all in a piece of paper. So it was pretty good.
Yeah. I feel like this question kind of ties into the what makes a good teacher, because you have more freedom with like the way you can respond, and there's not just one right answer. I feel like they're more encouraging to everything students put out. So I think probably generally creative classes are more chill and better than like academic classes, just because they're more welcoming, and yeah, it's just easier. For the next question, I know we've all been affected by COVID in terms of school, so I'm wondering, how has school changed, like since COVID? So like from before to after, or even in the middle. So like online school.
This is really like because COVID literally feels like it was like 3 years ago, but it's like 5 years ago from now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had online classes like during COVID, so I had it during my junior and my senior year. And, you know, I used to like dream for moments like that. Like being in high school, I used to dream about like online classes and being like, oh, I dreaded high school. Like, I was like, maybe it'd
Yeah.
be so much easier to be online. And then it actually happened and I hated it. And I didn't like it at all. Like, I didn't like how hard it was to communicate with my teachers, or how, you know, fast class like started and like ended. And you know, you barely spent time to actually get to know your professor and like
Yeah.
who you're actually working with. And sometimes most of the students also didn't learn whatever they were doing because they could just Google it or like look it up. Like it was really I could really access to a lot of things like when it was like just Zoom. So going to college, like after, or like even my senior year going into college, it was like it felt way better like than to being online, because I could actually like talk again. Like I could feel like I could talk to people again like regularly. Like I didn't have to like FaceTime them anymore, or like feel obligated to like you know, put on a mask, everything's good. Like, but no, quarantine was like affecting everybody, like I'm sure. And so like being able to like be in the public and like be like free and like everybody be together again, it's like it's definitely like it does bring me relief, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Go?
Well, for us too, we had COVID during the 7th grade, which
Yeah.
was kind of a weird time to have COVID, because 7th grade in itself is a very weird uh, grade for a lot of students, because they're just getting into like they're just growing up and they're getting puberty maybe and all that sort of thing, whatever. So yeah, it was definitely challenging. I feel like a lot of people talk about how that affects like especially this age group of people's social skills and their ability to like be in a room and communicate with others. So in that sense, the lockdown was like really hard for a lot of people that I know. But I think as time moved on, we sort of got used to it and we sort of got back into the normalcy of life after COVID ended, and after the hybrid, which we had, which was like you're in school for like 3 days and then you're out of school for 3 days and you're only with half the class. I don't know how you guys did it.
Yeah. We kind of, or for me, I had like online. And then at one point, we had the option to go in person or stay online. So that was weird because some people would like still be on Zoom or whatever.
Hmm.
And there would be like 5 kids in the class. But I don't know. I kind of liked it because I chose to go in person.
Mm-hmm.
So I was one of the few people there. I don't know. It felt pretty chill. But I do think online school definitely stunted my learning because I don't remember anything.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you on that. I don't remember much from like my like the middle of my junior year. Like I remember like taking math and science. That was pretty much it. And then everything else kind of feels like a blur. The days were just so, I don't know. They were just repetitive. Like it was
Yeah.
like I woke up at 8 o'clock and then I would like get ready and then go on Zoom from like 9 to 5. And then I don't know what I would be doing after, like probably make dinner. I don't know, go to sleep. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the days were just kind of like repetitive for like those past months. So like, yeah, I agree with you on that, honestly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had like 3 classes one day and 3 classes the next,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually just don't remember any of it. Like
It's
all
so
I
weird.
remember was the in-person part.
It's so weird. It's like a hole in our memories, that time frame. But then after it, I remember like so much school and like these memories and these things I did with my friends. But it's just kind of like a hole. It's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think our generation's probably going to be the only one to understand that unless something else happens, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure about that.
I mean, school also is changing, regardless of COVID or viruses, in terms of ChatGPT and how that will
Oh.
change our learning
Mhm.
and how our teachers teach us.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Have you guys heard about like how like Gen Alpha can't like read and write?
No, I'd never heard of that.
You've heard of that, Go?
Yeah, just like how the reading long books is declining in general. but Gen Alpha is like the really young group, right?
Yeah.
So that would just be them watching short form content and YouTube and just losing their attention spans and stuff. I've seen stuff online about that, but
Yeah, I always see videos of like teachers complaining about how people can't read or can't write, or they just lost like basic like academic skills. And I was just wondering if that's because of COVID or because of like YouTube and like
yeah.
brain rot, I guess.
Yeah, it could be a combination.
Yeah, I think it's both, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else to say?
No, I was just gonna say I personally feel like I've become way worse at reading than I used to be or could have been, and that I'm always, instead of on a book, I'm always like watching media and wasting my time, and I feel like that's like declining my reading skills personally. I don't know how you guys feel.
I agree. I used to read a lot. Like I was always pretty good at reading, and I think that's just because I found it more fun to read. But now I'm just like I don't really read anymore. I just am on my phone all the time. Like I tried reading this book that I got from the library. It was interesting, but I think I'm just so like short attention span. Like once I'm on my phone, I'm just like locked in on whatever I'm doing. So, and my reading has gotten a little bit worse. Like I don't think as much when I read, so I'm just taking it in and not like thinking logically, I guess. But I think my current English class is reversing it a little bit, just because it's more logical thinking. But yeah.
And my English class has taught me that like once you get into a book, like it's actually kind of hard to put it down because you're actually like somewhat enjoying it. Whereas with YouTube and TikTok, it's like just like short form, like dopamine releases, and nothing really happens after you watch a video. And you know, you go to the next one, you go to the next one, you just waste your time.
Yeah.
So that's the trick to canceling your short attention span, is just to do it and then see what it feels like. And if you don't like it, then that's that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I work in a library, so I see like people come in and out of there with books all the time. So it's just kind of crazy though. Like I get it. I get what you mean though with the whole like I used to read, because I did used to read too, like when I was in middle school. A lot of like trending books, especially like Diver One Beacon. I used to read a lot of those when I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, like as I like grew up and even in college now, like I still kind of have time to read, but it's just less consistent now because for one, like the reading and then like not comprehending, like that's a problem too, because I do get distracted by other things, especially if I like have plans later, or like I'm just not thinking about reading right now, like I just don't want to do it right now, like kind of thought. So it's just like yeah, I think I do need to find time to actually like sit down and read the book instead of like complicating things with like distracting the book and stuff. So
Yeah. I do think reading is still fun though. You just have to find the right book. A lot of the books we've been reading English class are pretty good, and yeah, I want to get back into reading, but
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I don't have, or I have the time, but there's probably other stuff I could do, like actually do homework, stuff like that. Yeah, anything else to add before we move on to the next segment? All right. The next segment is going to be more on like clash of cultures. Like we went over this a little bit in the old episodes, but to start, so the first question I have for you guys for the second segment is, do you guys ever feel like there's a competition between groups of students at your school? And if there is, like, how does it affect you personally?
I was saying that I feel like nursing sometimes get an upper hand, because at Dominican, it's kind of like a lot of the students are nursing majors and like business majors and like it's like STEM as well. So I feel like those like academics, they kind of do get a upper hand because they do kind of bring in some funding I guess, because Dominican, like, I don't know, we have a lot of alumni, and some of the alumni, they are like doctors and nurses and like like even pilots. So they like to come in and like they like to send money to give thanks and stuff. So it's just like kind of traditional in a way for them to get some guidance. But I feel like for other majors, they kind of don't. They're kind of guided in their own way, but they are still open to like they still have access to like help and like tutoring and stuff like that. We just have to reach out like ourselves.
So they get like, do they get private tutors, or is it just like?
Okay, so for example, for like a art therapy major, like somebody who's into art therapy, there's like gonna be at least chance that they're gonna have a tutor for the nursing major. So there's gonna be like nursing majors that are really good at tutoring, and they like can stay and like can help other really good nursing students. And there's like art therapy where if you so happen to like know art therapy tutor, then it's great. But if you don't, then I don't think they can help much. Yeah.
So it's just like more available for
Yeah.
nurses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
almost-
okay, sorry.
I was thinking that's almost like a competition between the different majors in a way. Okay. And so the biggest ones are nursing, and then what were the
It's
others?
nursing, like STEM, business.
I see.
Yeah. It's like those top 3.
I see.
Mm.
Go ahead.
I think for me, there is competition between students. Just like people want to do better than each other, so they can get into better colleges, and you do see a lot of like people, I guess teasing or like competing with each other, but I yeah, I mean, it's never really affects people unless it affects them mentally, like if the competition gets to their head. But I think like physically at school and stuff like that, it doesn't really affect people. It's probably just mentally at our school. What about your school, Gal?
Well, for me, it's really interesting to see the jump between college and high school. I would imagine that when high school finishes and people get into their colleges, then the competition between students sort of like hits an end, and people are just whatever. They're friends, whatever. But I guess competition is always like a underlying part of school.
Yeah.
And so yeah, for us in high school, everyone's really fighting to get into colleges, especially because we're both juniors. We see that the most. Freshman year was a lot more laid back. And not only is it academically, but I also see competition sort of between like friend groups of different like backgrounds. So there seems to be like a sort of like grouping of people within their like same cultures and same communities. And in that sense, a lot of people like to stay out of the other group, almost like a, like a story, but it's like the way that the social scene works at our high school. So it's kind of interesting. And I
Yeah.
think at SR it's similar, right?
Yeah, it's kind of similar. I just wanted to ask you, do you see like people trying to catch up from like their freshman year? Because I know a lot of people who kind of did really poorly their freshman year, but like now they want to lock in and like catch up. Do you see that?
Yeah, I have a lot of friends, freshman and sophomore year, that like didn't know about the importance of the grades in high school and affecting college, or they just didn't care enough because it was so far ahead in the future. And maybe they were just not trying, or maybe they were with their friends doing drugs or alcohol or whatever, you name it. And now they're just like, they have this like fire inside of them to like fix everything and start locking in. But I think it's really important, if you're listening to this podcast and you're a freshman or a sophomore, to like know that earlier is always better.
Yeah.
But obviously, just try your best from now on if you really decide to lock in and do your best work. And, I don't think that someone who's like 14 or 15 should really have like, it shouldn't affect your future that much. And it's really like crazy to think about, but that's the way that America, or the college system in America, works, as from what I've heard. So
yeah.
it's really important to just stay on top of school in that sense.
Yeah, definitely don't let it stress you out, but just keep going, keep doing the work, but try not to let it get to your head. and try not to make it the only thing that you do, because then that's when it's gonna like affect you mentally, and you're probably gonna get burnt out, and then your grades might drop because you're burnt out and like stuff like that. So just do try to do well in school, but don't make it the only thing that you want to do.
And it's like important to understand that like the only reason that you're doing these classes and trying your hardest is because you're actually like getting something out of it and learning. And so that's the other side of it.
Yeah, don't do stuff just for the grade.
Yeah. And you literally just don't get as burnt out when you think of it that way.
Yeah. Were you like, Kayla, were you good, or not good, but were you, how were your academics when you were in high school?
They were okay. They were okay. I'm not gonna like overhype myself and make it seem like I was like this like 3.0 student, like not even 4.0 student. No, like I had like a good 3 point something in high school, but I didn't really like enjoy high school the way I enjoy college because I was really restricted from a lot of things, and my professor always tells me like in class, like during my freshman year of college, that like I have a lot of like creative thinking, and I think that's what really held me back like in high school, is that creative thinking, because I was taking so many classes that involved me to stay at one like place in a way,
Yeah.
and focus on one thing, or like focus on multiple things that were not not as important to me, like during like my sophomore year of high school, like I just was just sitting in like American history, and I was learning a lot, but it was definitely one of those classes where like the teacher was not teaching, the teacher was giving out assignments and expecting us to do it. So it's just like those classes were just less memorable and or less like interesting to me in a way than the classes I'm taking now, where I'm like having a lot to do. Like I have a lot of responsibilities, but I'm working with people that want to work with me as well. Yeah. So I liked high school, but it was just like missing a lot of things that were important in growing up in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you compare yourself to like your peers now, or is it more because they're like they want to work with you and stuff like that? Do you see them more as partners or like competition?
Um being in college, like I don't feel like I have to be in competition with anybody, because I'm not taking the same classes with all my peers anymore. You know, like I'm not taking all the same classes with my friends anymore. All of my friends are like very different in their majors. Like I don't have only have probably one friend that has the same major as me. I have friends that are like nursing majors, business, engineering. Like a lot of them want to do different things, and I prefer that than to somebody to have the same exact classes with me, where I feel like I have to be at the same level with them, or like are higher or above them. So I just feel like and there's just no point in doing that anymore. You know, people like go like with life at their own pace. Like they can do what they want with their diploma or like their degree.
Yeah.
In your classes, is there a curve where the average person like has this grade and there's this many above it and this many below it, or is it sort of like the professor decides what to make the grades?
Yeah, there's like pass and fail classes, and those are really 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 hard. And then there's like the classes where like it starts from like the beginning of the semester to the end, and the pass or fail, like the professor can actually like make that decision whether they want you to pass or fail the class or not. And I remember an incident where my suite mate took one of those pass or fail classes, and it's like an anthropology class. And you know, she was doing really well in the class. She went to like service learning, you know, and she would like literally drive to, you know, help kids like tutor and stuff. But the thing was like she didn't want to keep making the trips because she didn't feel comfortable in that environment. There was just a lot of people like looking at her and like making weird looks. So she was just not comfortable like walking or like being there. And the professor like just didn't get it. And so at one point she just stopped showing up and just switched to another one. And she didn't tell her that. So she eventually failed her for the class. And there was just a whole bunch of miscommunication. Even after they had like a student teacher meeting, she just didn't like completely get it. So I feel like the pass or fail classes are just a lot more complicated. Yes, they are still very important because I think it's important to have those classes instead of and to not always have those classes, but have one of those classes instead of like to always indicate what your classes will look like from the beginning to the end. But from like what your teacher can tell from how you work within the class, I think that's really important. But I think those type of professors though are an issue within those classes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, if a professor is doing like pass or fail, I think that environment is probably more, I don't know how to say it, but like on edge, because I feel like if you upset the professor in any way or like do anything that they don't approve of, I feel like they just can hold the pass or fail above you.
They can have some type of animosity or like some issue or something, and they will never actually say that, and that's actually against the law in some places, but they'll never actually verbally say that, but they'll find like something to fail you, which is unfortunate. But I'm not gonna say all my professors, but it's unfortunate it happens.
Kind of related to the pass or fail classes, do you think your school sees you as like a GPA or like a graduation or an actual student?
I think when I first came to school, I think I did see it as like my GPA because that was the most important thing while graduating like high school, because that's what people made it to be. Like they made it seem like that was what I was like being in high school. I was just like my GPA. Even after quarantine, like people still told me I still had to get my GPA up or get my grade up. So I just felt like that was important. So getting in like was really shocking. Because there's just like self-doubt when you like sign up or do applications for college and stuff, but don't self-doubt, you guys could do this. But yeah, it was just like a lot of like issues like while doing applications and stuff like that. But when I actually got in, I didn't feel like that anymore. I actually felt like there was a community in here, and I think it's just a lot different in college, because in high school they expect a lot from you because you're learning, but because when you're in college it's kind of different because you know what you want to learn and what you want to do, and so they expect you to be responsible of that while you're in that environment. But it's also very freeing in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I definitely think, at least in high school, like you were saying, that it's more of a GPA or like test score thing. Because even just recently we had like state testing. And
ASP?
Or wait, we had SBAC, I think it's called.
SBAC, okay.
And it literally doesn't help the students in any way. It's just to help the school get more funding and whatnot. So, but they were really pushing it. Like they said, like if you skipped or something, they would basically drag you out of another class and force you to do it. So I don't know. I think sometimes they see us as just like a grade or something, or like a test score. But I feel like they try to hide it, but usually that's all they care about.
Yeah. Our school obviously offers the wellness center, and they have a bunch of different athletics and clubs, and so obviously it's more than just an academic high school with your transcript and your grades. But I did want to differentiate between your high school seeing you as a grade and your actual grades, because what high schools know about their grades is that colleges see in general the trend of the high school students, and they can see if everyone has perfect grades across the board, then their high school is inflating, they're doing grade inflation, in which case that would actually look bad on the high school. So I think it's just the state testing that matters the most. The actual GPA and the letter grades, they want to kind of keep a little bit lower just to make sure that they show that they have a fair grading system and not grade inflation. But yeah, and they want to have their kids perform with the highest test scores because those are standardized by, the California state testing and the College Board for SAT tests. So they want their students to do really good academically, just not with their grades per se, was all I wanted to differentiate between.
That's kind of interesting because when we were doing SBAC tests and they were like announcing it and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure they said the opposite, how like they want students to look really good because then colleges know the school is good.
Right.
But I don't know. That kind of contradicts what you were saying.
No, I agree. So, yeah, let me clarify. So, what I was trying to say is that the state testing scores, so like SBAC, CASP, do matter, and they want their kids to do as good as possible. So, in that sense, they only see them as a grade. But then, in terms of high school, I was saying that their actual grades that they get, if they're all perfect, then that would actually make the students kind of look worse because of grade inflation rather than them being very academically talented.
Yeah.
But obviously, still in each class, they're not going to like make it like harder, make it like impossible. They're going to make it so that their kids learn so they can do better in the testing that they're going to have, such as the state testing. Whatever. Yeah, that was what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add?
Mm-mm.
Okay. What do you guys feel is something about you that isn't reflected in your grades? So, like, I guess personality or I don't know, dreams, aspirations, stuff like that.
I want to be a flight attendant.
Mm.
So I feel like
That's really
that's
cool.
one that makes literally no sense what I do. I think it's really like something I really want to pursue after college. I think for me, this is half of I'm getting my college experience, half I'm getting education in a way. So it's like I'm getting to know people. I'm getting to know people in SF and like around California, but I'm also getting education here and like learning how to, communication and media, which is great since I want to pursue like broadcasting or like podcasts as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to be a flight attendant so you could like travel but also get paid?
Yes, but it's like also like my mom kind of did that like in a way. She got paid while traveling, and she went a lot of places like London and like what's it called, Puerto Rico and Dominican. It's like she's been to a lot of places, and getting paid while doing that. So I feel like being a flight attendant is a great start to my actual traveling business. So. Yeah, it's good.
What about you, Gal? Do you think anything about you isn't really shown in your grades?
Well, I think there's like a ton of things that your grades don't really represent, and that I feel like there's a lot more to me than my grades. So like, for example, I have a lot of hobbies outside of school, and I actually struggle to find times to do those hobbies because of my classes. And so, for example, when I go hiking or when I fly my drone or when I play soccer, I feel like my grades don't reflect that like personality about me that I have. And it kind of like puts me into a box and that's like the main problem with high school that a lot of people say is that it puts you in a box and like hides you from exploration and creativity. And so that's what's kind of not being reflected in grades, because grades are all about, your direct letter that you get from putting in a lot of work into a class. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably better, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably better in college because, like, the classes are kind of what you want to take. So I feel like once you're in college, the grade, but also the class kind of shows who you are because it's a class that you're interested in or at least want to pursue something in. So I feel like, at least in college, the grades do kind of reflect a little bit about you. Does that make sense?
They do, yeah. And I think they do for a lot of the majors too. So I don't advise like having like a bad grade, I guess, in college. Not because it like affects like you academically. Not only that, but like it's just like some of the classes that you take are really good. Like they will come up, like they do come up a lot like in my actual life. And I feel like if you fail it, like you kind of like all the education like kind of went out the roof in a way. You don't want to have wasted education. So it's just like having a past class and just having that knowledge is just like a +1. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're almost running out of time, so I do want to kind of go through these a little bit faster, but I still want you guys to express yourself how you feel. So just moving on to the next one. Do you guys feel pressure to join clubs or and sports and do extracurriculars just to make your applications look better? Well, I mean, you're already in college,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
you all specifically,
Mhm.
do you feel pressure to join extracurriculars?
Well, yeah, it's a lot more of a high school thing, I presume. Personally, I think just being able to list that you were part of this club and this is going to be your major does look really good.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you join every single club and you join every single sport, that's like, okay, who is this person? He's just trying to overdo it per se. But I think there is sort of a drive that a lot of people that I know have and that I have that like tells you like, hey, maybe you should just do this. You know, it's your last year before college applications, and it certainly won't decrease your chances per se. So it'll only help you in the long run. Obviously, I feel like that could be seen as like a time waster, like, you know, like maybe you're not interested in this club, or maybe you're just like, you know, you'd rather do other things, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I think you shouldn't feel pressure to join it if you think that there's other things you can do. But if it's like, I have the time of the day and I'm willing to be committed to this to look better, then once again, that's the way it works. And unfortunately, maybe you join it and you get the best out of the experience.
Yeah, I agree. I I do join like clubs and stuff just for college, but they also do help, or I do enjoy them outside of that. Um, did you ever feel pressured to join any clubs?
Honestly, like no. And plus I was not access to a lot of clubs either, like at the school I was at when I first moved to California. Like I was really hoping there would like be a Black Student Union club, but there wasn't one around the time I like graduated. But they did have one after I did though. So I think that's great. I think that's great that they did it after I left. And they did a whole bunch of different clubs too. So I'm just glad that's happening like now. And I think they are very useful in college. I think they really are. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I do think that's all the time we have. Thank you guys for tuning into the Tay experience. My name is Marcelino, and thank you for watching.